In 2011, HBO premiered Game of Thrones, a television show based off of author George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire book series. The show has received critical acclaim as well as having the honor of being the most pirated show on television. However, the show has received criticism for its treatment of women, particularly with rape scenes. I want to find out how women react and view rape scenes against female main characters in Game of Thrones. To answer this, I will interview women on how they feel about particular rape scenes, show clips of women voicing their opinions on YouTube, and use the academic books Women in Game of Thrones, Power, Conformity, and Resistance by Valerie Estelle Frankel, and Watching Rape, Film and Television and Post-Feminist Culture by Sarah Poyansky. I will also be using literary criticism and oral history. Women view rape scenes against female main characters as a storytelling device that can develop and overall strengthen female characters and depict the harshness of the Middle Ages and of evil characters. However, they can also be excessive and unnecessary when they don't have a large impact on the story or help for female characters to grow stronger. In her book, Poyansky, the author of books and articles on gender, race, and sexuality in films and TV, says the pervasiveness of representations of rape naturalizes rape's place in our everyday world, not only as real physical events, but also as part of our fantasies, fears, desires, and consumptive practices. This is true for Game of Thrones, as the original book series is based off of the Middle Ages, where arranged marriages were common for high-born children, leading new brides to grow fearful of non-consensual sex, which I will show shortly. One girl I interviewed described rape in the show as essential to the storyline and character development, but sometimes there are an overly excessive amount. Irrelevant rape scenes that are not detrimental to the plot are a little much. The first character raped on screen is Daenerys Targaryen, who is forced to marry Khal Drogo. He rapes her on multiple occasions in the first 2 episodes. However, Daenerys grows to love and deeply care for him. I asked some women whether this made sense.
Stockholm Syndrome. That's all I can say.
I mean, I don't think it makes sense, but I also think that from the beginning there was some kind of an attraction there, even though obviously she didn't want to have sex with him right away. I think that it was always kind of implied that something might happen between the 2 of them, but it's definitely odd.
Emilia Clarke, the actress who plays Daenerys Targaryen, said that she thought it was genius, as she is physically saying, "You can't rape me again. I'm going to be in control and show you something you've never seen before." I then asked them if they thought that Daenerys getting raped was crucial for her story and growth as a character.
Actually, I have to say yes, because if she didn't go through all the hard times, we wouldn't understand how she became who she is. That's how she became more fierce and more powerful, I say, because, you know, she'd been through all the bad stuff, like everybody in real life.
Yes. I think that she's always been more nice and just kind of a pleasant girl type character, and that after all that happened, she definitely became more strong and didn't put up with people as much and showed how powerful she really could be, and it kind of was the start of her taking over and being more powerful than a lot of the other leaders and characters.
The next rape scene involves Jaime Lannister raping his twin sister and lover. Yes, his twin sister is his lover, Cersei Lannister, next to the body of their dead son. Now, women viewed this scene as unnecessary, as it didn't really add anything to the story or to the plot, and it was never mentioned again, and they saw it as out of character for Jaime to rape someone.
What the actual fuck?
So I was very disturbed by the scene. It's disturbing anyway in quite a few ways because it happens next to the body of Joffrey as it did in the TV show. And it's also between a brother and sister, so it's incest, and that's disturbing for a lot of people.
It was definitely unexpected. I think it was just weird because even though it was a rape, she wasn't necessarily at first totally pushing him away.
I really have to question why it was turned into a rape scene.
It seems to me like she doesn't want to out of respect for her son, but yet she wanted to. And just because she said no, sometimes some people believe that that's a yes for some reason.
But I thought that the show was setting up Jaime's redemption arc, and it's been setting that up for quite a long time. Is that Jaime Lannister is a character that is quite horrified by rape. You know, he's one of the least likely characters to do something like that.
She's like, no, stop, this isn't right, stop, this isn't right, this isn't right. And he's ripping off her clothes anyway.
Don't know if it was necessary, but it definitely did show how twisted her whole family was. And
like, they don't have to show what happened, but I think it gives people more visual to see how the story goes.
One person I interviewed described it as a surprise because the whole story is about them being in love and trying to be in love despite the kingdom. Gruesome because of the setting and death that had just occurred. After being forced to marry Ramsay Bolton, Sansa Stark is brutally raped by him, while her childhood friend, Theon Greyjoy, is forced to watch. This scene caused a lot of controversy, as originally in the books, it was another character, not Sansa, who got raped, and due to its brutality and how it was shot. Women were also outraged by this scene because before this, Sansa had been freed from the Lannisters, who were holding her captive, and King Joffrey was torturing her. She had finally learned how to play the Game of Thrones, and she was becoming a stronger character, and growing as a woman and becoming more confident.
Gratuitous is the word that comes to mind. I hate that this happened to Sansa. I've been rooting for her since the first few episodes.
It's Ramsay, so you kind of have to expect that to happen.
Why did this happen in this episode? It was so frustrating to watch and so uncomfortable, and that's how the episode ended, which was the most depressing and frustrating.
So you're left with the credits screen and a lot of feelings you can't name. Just thinking about it, I still feel kind of queasy.
I'm glad they cut over to Theon, because if they had kept it on Sansa's face...
The biggest problem with this scene was how it was shot. We didn't need to hear what we heard or watch Theon's face watch it. We really didn't need that dress tear as a callback to her time with Joffrey. There has to be a middle ground between showing / letting us hear everything to showing us nothing.
Dany went through the same thing in the first 2 episodes of the show, so it would be kind of hypocritical of me to be extremely pissed off about Sansa and not about Dany, even though I was pissed off about Dany.
She's been beaten down more than any other character. She's been raked over the coals for 5 seasons.
Sansa kind of starts over as this new person, and we are all excited because she's finally joined the Game of Thrones, and she's this new person. Her suffering has ended, and we were all so excited to see that. And now with all of this Bolton crap, she has reverted back to suffering, and it just feels like her character, instead of moving forwards, is moving backwards. It's so annoying, and I'm not happy about it.
She was finally starting to seem like she was learning the Game of Thrones just so she could be leveled all over again. Sansa finally had some agency, and then this.
I don't think it was necessary, but I think it was expected. I'm not surprised that that happened. I think regardless if it wasn't his wife, it probably still would have happened, but he owned her pretty much after that point, so that was probably bound to happen, especially with how evil he is.
sometimes it actually have to show how jacked up your life can be, or how bad he is, to make it more satisfying and to show later on in the show. But because you already kind of know that he's gonna die, in my opinion, but just how he's gonna die, it would it make more sense to you that he's a real piece of shit? You know what I mean?
This will explain the added brutality behind the scene.
And being sexually assaulted by the bastard of the man who killed your family, while the castrated slave who killed your friends is forced to watch.
In fact, this scene caused so much controversy that Claire McCaskill, a U.S. Senator from Missouri, vowed that she would stop watching the show, and the Mary Sue, an entertainment website, vowed that they would stop promoting the show. In this book, Frankel, who is an author of pop culture books, says feminist films don't treat rape as entertainment, but as a violent, traumatic experience from which the victims must recover and discover the way to peace.
The only development of her character on the show that I want to see right now is her killing Ramsey and his father freaking terribly and them dying a painful death. Then I will be happy with the show.
On their own. If this was in the books, I can't get too pissed off at the show because it's in the books. If it's not in the books, they better let her kill everyone in this fucking castle.
Ultimately, Sansa does recover and find peace. She escapes Ramsay and takes back her ancestral home of Winterfell and feeds him to his own dogs. This is an empowering scene, and when I asked women if seeing Sansa get raped by Ramsay made it more satisfying when she got revenge on him, this is what they said.
Oh, definitely, because that's what worse could happen to a person, and he was already an evil character, and then seeing him do that to her made him even worse. And she not only killed him, she tortured him with his own animals. So that was definitely made that scene much more satisfying and dramatic.
Absolutely. Oh my god, you have no idea how happy we were. Just watching that scene, it makes it all worth it. Just to see how somebody like that can just walk around and finally get what he deserved.
In conclusion, women viewed Daenerys' rape scene as allowing her to grow from a young and passive girl into a strong woman and a fierce leader. Women viewed Cersei's rape scene as unnecessary, unexpected, and disturbing, due to it being out of character for Jaime to rape his sister, the lack of impact on the story, and the circumstances surrounding the rape. Women viewed Sansa's rape scene as gratuitous, uncomfortable, and frustrating to watch, while reverting her back to living in a hopeless situation. However, the rape scene allowed for added satisfaction and made it all the more worthwhile when Sansa got her revenge. Women feel that rape scenes against female main characters in Game of Thrones can advance the story through female characters overcoming rape, shining a light on the harshness of the Middle Ages and showing the evilness of a character. However, if rape scenes do not fit this criteria, they are viewed as excessive and unnecessary.